Thanks, Peter. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday, the 9th of January, 2023, to Breckland Council's Cabinet meeting. Everyone's most welcome. We'll crack straight on with the minutes, the agenda pack, which item 1 is the minutes of the previous meeting. Members will note there are 2 parts to this for the minutes, both minutes as presented at item 1 and then again at item 12. If members don't have any questions or comments in relation to the restricted minutes at item 12, I will take them at item 1, but I'm looking for indication from any members of the council present today, both cabinet and members, if they have any questions in relation to item 12. I see none, so are members happy that for benefit item 1, the minutes are a true and accurate record? Thank you. Item 2, apologies for absence. I haven't received any. Item 3, urgent business. I haven't been made aware of any urgent business. Item 4, declarations of interest, please. Councillor Hewitt.
Chair, I have a disclosable interest in item 8. The interest has been previously raised with the monitoring officer. It's an indirect interest, as item 8 relates to the strategy and the approach of our local plan moving forwards. But for the avoidance of any doubt, I will not take part in the conversation, and I wish that to be recorded in the minutes.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed. Councillor Cowan.
Thank you, Chairman. And likewise, as members will be aware, as on my declaration of members' interests, I run an architectural practice in Breckland, and indirectly, therefore, the local plan is of interest to me and my clients.
Lovely, thank you.
Similarly, I won't be taking any part in that.
Duly noted. There are no other declarations of interest. Move on to item 5. Non-members of Breckland Council wishing to address the meeting, you are almost welcome as always. Chairman's announcements, I don't have any for this morning. Item 7, Breckland Community Funding Application. Councillor Webb, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Happy New Year to everyone. Okay, on October the 11th, 2022, Buckingham Palace announced the coronation of His Majesty the King will take place on Saturday the 6th of May, 2023. The coronation ceremony will take place at Westminster Abbey, London, and will be conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Right, okay, so last year we had amazing success with the communities regarding our Jubilee celebrations. Building on that success, Breckland Council is keen to ensure that our residents are supported to enjoy the coming coronation event by bringing together our communities to celebrate. Therefore, we are going to be offering 2 grant schemes. The first one is the King's Coronation Grant Scheme, which is grants of up to £500 for things like venue hire, food, decorations, entertainment. It's going to be open to constituted community organisations, registered charities, excluding town and parish councils. The second one we're going to have is the King's Coronation Match Funding Grant Awards, which is open to town and parish councils to purchase flagpoles, Union Jack flags, and it's up to £200 match funding available. Furthermore, the council will fund the 5 large LED screens for each of our market towns to enable live screenings of the coronation at events being run by the town council or local communities. The hire is for the full day, and therefore not only will the ceremony be allowed to be screened, it will be more than that. If the council or the organisation wish to do it, they could use it for films afterwards. Finally, the council will be upgrading market town banners with an appropriate design in honour of the King's coronation. We're going to be launching the 2 grant schemes today on the website, and I do hope that we have positive applications come through for it, because as I said last year for the Jubilee, it was amazing to see so many of our communities joining together and having time to celebrate this wonderful once in a lifetime occasion. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alison. Any questions or comments for Councillor Webb, please, on her item? Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Leader, and Happy New Year to everybody in the room. Alison, 6th of May, obviously we've got elections coming up. I'm not sure which day the election is. Then we're going to Purdah. Have we got to inform councils before? When can they apply for this? Can we tell them they can apply now? Or because our time will run out into Purdah, won't it?
Yes, the applications are going to be open this week. Yeah.
Thanks, and I know that the Deputy Monitor Officer will correct me if I'm wrong, but normal council business continues right up until the day of the election. So as far as we're concerned, this is normal council business, and therefore Purdah won't impact the ability for normal business to continue. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay. Thank you very much, Alison, and hope we'll get some really brilliant applications like we did previously. We'll move on to item 8, which is the local plan full update and options. Councillor Suckett to present, please.
Thank you. Happy New Year from myself as well. As we're all aware, hopefully anyway, the council is preparing an update to the current plan that, once complete, will replace the various documents which together form the existing development plan for Breckland that was adopted in November 2019. The Issues and Options Local Plan consultation is the first of several rounds of public consultation in the local plan preparation process. The document provides an introduction and some background about Breckland, broke it down in 9 topic chapters that are visions and objectives, housing development amount and location, providing right type of housing, the economy, the built environment, the natural environment, climate change, transport and infrastructure. For each topic, there is a commentary on the background and some of the key issues, followed by a question or set of questions, allowing people to express their views and suggestions. The Issues and Options Local Plan document was prepared using our current adopted Local Plan 2019 and by using the Issues and Options Consultation Document 2014 as a baseline, as well as taking into account similar work prepared by neighbouring local authorities and other similar rural district local authorities throughout the UK. Going forward, the preparation of a new local plan for Breckland will seek to continue to respond to these and other changing circumstances. I feel it's important to note that the planning policy requirements can relate to essential infrastructure to support development, for example, for education, transport, health, contributions towards open space recreation, affordable housing, addressing climate change crisis such as zero carbon aims, energy efficiency, requirements to deliver high quality design, materials and features, accessible and adaptable homes, as well as supporting nature recovery, net gains for biodiversity. However, it's important to understand the local plan must be deliverable, viable, and found to be sound by the planning inspector. So the conclusions of a whole plan viability appraisal may therefore affect the ability of the council to include such higher standards and requirements set out in these issues and options. The issues and options stage of the plan making process has been discussed with opportunity to comment at an all-member briefing on the 16th of November 2022, as well as a really successful briefing to which all parish and town councils were invited on the 20th of December 2022. It's proposed to consult on the issues and options document for a period of 8 weeks. I would like to make you all aware that the council is seeking to commission experienced consultants to prepare and facilitate on behalf of the council a public consultation, including this issues and options stage of the plan and continuing through 2024. This will set out a programme of consultation and engagement designed to be accessible to as many people in the community as possible, with particular emphasis on hard to reach groups, including younger demographic cohorts, such as school children and youth groups, older people, minority groups or socially excluded groups, as well as helping people to understand the local plan. It's important to note this first consultation is just the beginning of an extended period of community engagement that will evolve as more information becomes available, including, for example, the integrated assessment and greater evidence base. This will culminate in the preparation of the preferred options document, which will be subject to consultation programmed for October 2023. The recommendation that we have this morning is for Cabinet to endorse Breckland Local Plan Issues and Options document for public consultation under Regulation 18 of the Town and Country Planning, Local Planning England, Regulations 2012 for a period of 8 weeks as set out in Appendix A to this report. And secondly, it grants delegated authority to the Deputy Chief Executive in consultation with the Cabinet member with portfolio for planning to make any necessary typographical or other minor changes to the report prior to its publication for consultation. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Sarah. Any questions or comments from colleagues? I've got Councillor Crane and then Councillor Borwick, please.
Yes, thank you, Canon. Could I ask the Cabinet member for confirmation that sustainability and climate change will be at the forefront during the consultation and decision-making process of the local plan, as this is very important to our residents as well as myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, you'll be pleased to hear that it is at the heart of the local plan update. We're ensuring it's considered fully at every opportunity, conscious of keeping all the topics in perspective and in line with strong planning policies to ensure robust planning decisions can be made. The work that's currently being undertaken with Breckland's design guide is about to be consulted on. We should all be receiving shortly an information pack which will be released to help us understand and give us guidance as to how best to take part in that consultation. As part of that, we're asking how much sustainability is important to our residents and people who wish to take part, how we can incorporate it in our desire to push good design in Breckland. Other topics the design guide is looking to cover regarding this is healthy motor transport, energy efficiency homes, water consumption, solar panels, heating options, etc. In this particular paper, climate has got its own section, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what our communities feel our challenges and opportunities are, what's important to them, and working together to get the best from this update for us and our residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I would like to thank the Cabinet member very much indeed for the parish forum on the 20th of December. It was a really, really useful meeting and it was very well attended, and there were it was really helpful in dispelling many of the myths around the local plan project and increasing the understanding. I think I had representatives of 6 of my parish councils at the meeting, and the feedback from that meeting was very positive indeed. And as a result, there's been quite a lot of engagement. So I do have a request to make this morning that's come out of that and further discussion with the group. And it's a minor amendment, so it's in line with the recommendations today. And it's around question 13 on page 44 of the agenda pack. It's a question in 3 parts, and there's 3 small requests around that question. We would very much like respondents to have the opportunity to explain why they answer yes or no to the first part of the question, as is the case with the majority of the other questions. And I think it would make the feedback more useful going forwards. We would very much like there to be an explanatory commentary paragraph before the question, as outlined in paragraph 1.4 of the draft document, explaining the key factors for consideration if a new settlement in the reviewed local plan is to be included. It would be really helpful if the question on 15-minute neighbourhoods be a separate question, so not alter it, but just place it as a standalone question, as these could refer to other existing urban settlements, not just new ones. And the third question, or the third part of the question, as this consultation is clear that it's not about the location of sites, any suggestion of a request about the location of a new site doesn't fit, in our opinion, comfortably with the remainder of the document, and I would request that third part be removed from the questionnaire. So those are the 3 amendments just to that one question, and they're all very minor, and I would request that those changes be included. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm happy to take those, and if it's approved, obviously, under section recommendation 2, as I do think that they are They are very minor, and it was really good to have the feedback come back from the councils that did attend the briefing. Obviously, I'd just prefer for Simon to confirm that that is okay for us to do so.
Yeah, we'd share your view. Those are minor changes, and we can make those changes before consultation goes out.
Great. Are you content with that, councillor?
Yes, thank you very much indeed. And I look forward to the process wending its way through to October. It seems very long, but I do think that this 8-week consultation is going to be a key part of the delivery of the plan, because it is an opportunity for the public to have their say. And it's just going to be great to have the document and as robust as possible. So thank you very much for your help, Cabinet.
Thanks, Sarah. So twin tracking, obviously, once the decision's been made today, we want to have really good public participation in the consultation process. How are we going to advertise this to our residents, businesses across the whole of the district?
We are going to send this all out to our parish councils and other local bodies that have expressed their interest on our mailing list. Social media, is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, we will be using social media as well through our communications team, but we'll also bring in consultants to make sure that we reach as many groups out there as we possibly can. And that may delay us starting the consultation period for a couple of weeks while we get that in place, but we'd rather do that than miss people, really. We also, as well, sorry, councillor, we also have the Commonplace website, which already has people subscribing to it.
I hope we get the 20,000 we had through the Future Brecklands work. I'm sure as officers that would be a mountain of detail to go through, but I hope that through the really positive, engaging common strategy, we'll get some really positive responses throughout the whole of this process. Just to confirm, once it goes live, obviously this is going to be an online type forum, but residents will be able to access in different formats if required, and can do that through our customer contact centre. And I know previously when we did the local plan, you had to give a response to certain questions to be able to move on to the next one. Has that type of functionality been removed so that you don't have to give a response to each one and could just do non-applicable, move on?
Yes, people don't have to wade their way through the whole document and answer every question. That they can just focus on areas that interest them, such as, I know, housing or sustainability or what interests them.
And through that process, obviously, we're going to capture a lot of data from interested parties across the district, which is really exciting. Is there a way for us to understand and communicate with them individuals further that they can sign up for a regular communication update? I know that Councillor Suggett updates members frequently in parish councils. I just wonder if there's a way that residents will be able to tick a box at the end with a bit of a mailing list so that we can keep them updated as to how the process is going, ensuring that transparency of communication throughout the process as well.
They can do that through the Commonplace website, which is hosting the local plan, and many people already have. And we will also be working with our community engagement specialists to make sure that all those avenues of communication are kept open and we can have that two-way conversation.
Brilliant. And can I just thank all members of the council who engaged positively through this process back in November and December to help pull together these questions and make sure the wording was right and fit for purpose through the work all of you have done with your parish and town council over the previous years, and particularly up to December 19 when we adopted the local plan. I think this is a really exciting moment in time for us to undertake this work. But of course, we've got to make sure that the initial foundations which we're moving forward on are strong, and I think that the work of officers and members across the council has allowed us to achieve that. And Councillor Suggett, thank you for engaging all members of the council through this process in the forums and the workshops you and the officers have been holding. I think that today's a really good moment in time for that. Any other questions or comments on the item 8? No. So Councillor Suggett's move those recommendations. All those in favour? Thank you very much.
Can I have my vote not as a non-vote recorded, please, Julie, because of my interest? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think you and Councillor Hewitt had noted that item forward. Item 9, then we'll move on to the draft budget medium-term planning Capital Strategy 23-24. Councillor Cowan, please.
Thank you, Leader, and Happy New Year to everybody. At its heart, budgeting is a relatively simple exercise in balancing known and assumed, or sometimes unknown or anticipated variables against a set of choices that we make. It is the choices element within the equation over which we have discretionary control, and that in turn sets us on a course of action to establish a budget. This process is what all of us do in one form or another in running our private lives and our households, and thus the principles are familiar to us all. What places the council's budget setting on a different level from our domestic models are the choices that we as councillors make, the complexities of the income streams, the monetary values involved, and the statutory core services that we are tasked with providing. This council has established key overriding priorities or choices, in addition to the statutory services against which our budget must provide funding. These are Inspiring Communities, Thriving Places, Breckland 2035, Working Smarter, and Breckland Cares. Following the trials and tribulations of the pandemic, the impact on residents and businesses alike, and the additional load placed on officers and members as a result, all set against the backdrop of world events, has given the budget setting process this year a more sharply honed focus. Many authorities around the country have found themselves in untenable positions. Their finances have been stretched and, in some cases, compromised. But I am pleased to announce today that as a result of the detailed work undertaken by Team Breckland, this council can propose a balanced budget. Not only balanced for the year ahead, but also for the following year. This is an achievement of which we can all be justly proud. The papers before us today set out in detail the ways in which the draft budget has been established. Appendix A sets out the general principles behind the draft budget and identifies income levels, fixed costs, the tax base, the budget preparation principles and assumptions, forward projections and reserves and balances, all set against a risk profile. It also sets out the consultation timetable, value for money, requirements, and addresses the capital estimates. Appendix B lists the summary by subjective headings, and Appendix C identifies the tax base by parish. Appendix D1 sets out proposed fees and charges for the wide range of services provided by the council, and in Appendix D2, you'll find the planning fees. Appendix E identifies the reserve statement, and Appendix F addresses the sensitivity analysis against which various assumptions have been made. And the proposed capital strategy and programme is set out in Appendices G and H. This is a positive budget statement and places Breckland Council in an enviable position. Yes, the Band D tax level is proposed to rise to £108.63 per year, but within Breckland, 76% of homes are within bands A to C, and thus the majority of households who pay the full amount of council tax will pay less than £1.86 per week for the statutory services and, importantly, the discretionary services that your council provides. I am indebted to the hard work of Team Breckland as a unit who've worked together to drive this draft budget. The fact that we can deliver a balanced budget in these straitened times whilst providing all of the core services that our residents and businesses require, and at the same time providing a wide range of discretionary services designed to help and support the most vulnerable, is testament to the prudent fiscal policies that this council has been following. This budget continues this philosophy, and I commend it to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Ali, anything further you want to add? No, thank you. Happy to take questions or comments from colleagues. Councillor Hewitt, please.
Thank you, Chair. Phil, can I congratulate you and your team and Team Breckland as a whole. Putting a budget together, even under strong economic environments, is a difficult task. Putting this budget together under the current economic framework has without doubt proved, I suspect, a bit of a challenge. And there are challenges for this council moving ahead. But to my mind, the assumptions in the budget as proposed are robust. The budget is achievable. And what you've managed to produce, Phil, you and your team, is a tremendous outcome for our residents, giving local services, local value that allow our local residents and our businesses to thrive. I commend the budget.
Thanks, Paul. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? Thank you, Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that overview, Phil, and thank you to Alison Chubbott for briefing opposition members before Christmas. That was very useful, as ever. I did some tallying up over the weekend because I noted last week that the Police Commissioner Office has revealed their proposed increase, which, given certainly in our case in Thetford, our parish has determined what, or about to determine, the most likely increase for them. And it struck me that over the last few years, the total increase in council tax for all the different components for a Band D has been around £50–60 for the year. Certainly in the case of Thetford, and I'm sure some other parishes, if the Breckland budget is adopted and the levels of council tax are adopted and the others, Norfolk County Council being the lion's share, but looking at their proposals, Band D council tax is going to go up by more than £100 for the first time, I think probably ever. It's topping that £100 mark for the first time. And then recently, last year, several households saw their council tax being more than £2,000 per annum, and even more properties this year, if the increases go ahead, will now see their annual council tax bill more than £2,000 a year. And that concerns me because that level of increase and that level of expenditure is bad enough ordinarily, but we have to be aware of the fact that we are in a cost of living crisis. And if you look at, even though I feel sorry for Breckland because £5 of that is the Breckland Council share, but the total bill is what people I'm sure will worry about. But the percentage increase on Breckland's £5 alone is in percentage terms more than many people have seen their wages increase by. So, it's squeezing household income significantly. That leads me to the conversation that we had last year about the absolute importance of the council tax hardship fund. I am very pleased to see that we've kept an element of a fund available, although it's significantly reduced to what it has been previously. I think £20,000 has been budgeted for next financial year. And it leads me to ask, what happens if we end up in a similar position as we have been with the household support fund, where that 20,000 is completely used up? If we get to April, May, June time and it's completely gone, what is the plan? And is there a flexibility built in so that if people are struggling with their council tax, there is some support available? Because at those numbers and with household incomes not rising by those same percentage terms, more people will come into hardship with their council tax. It's a simple, reality of life. So that was my first point. I'll just comment briefly on the changes proposed for housing and homelessness, and just to say I'm very pleased to see that we are budgeting significant amounts to deal with housing and homelessness. We've seen a huge demand in the district over several years now. This isn't a one-off, unfortunately, and we are continuing to have to budget significant amounts. So I'm pleased that we've changed our approach and gone from a proactive approach rather than to reactive and having to overspend, frankly. And then lastly, probably a point for Councillor Cowan, in the appendices, the very last one, I think it's Appendix 9, I think, the capital strategy, there's a significant amount of income built in as a one-off in the capital strategy. Is there a risk to the capital programme if that income doesn't materialise? It's a one-off. Are we? I assume we aren't spending it before we've got it. That wouldn't be the usual way. Alison wouldn't let you. But what is the risk to the capital strategy if that asset income doesn't come in? Thank you, Chairman.
Terry, Phil?
Thank you, Terry, and thank you for the kind words about the way we're approaching budgeting, particularly in these times. You're absolutely right. As you'll be aware, I also sit on the Joint Committee at ARP, and the Joint Committee is certainly very focused on things that we don't know at the moment. And the things that we don't know at the moment are the scale of any problems and challenges that our residents will be facing. But please rest assured that ARP and our finance team here and elsewhere, the ARP functions are very, very keen to be ahead of the curve when it comes to people's circumstances. And that's why I'm afraid we have had to contemplate the rise that we have in our council tax this year. And yes, in percentage terms, you're quite right. It is a significant percentage. In real terms, it's actually not a great deal. And as the report I've just tabled identifies, the vast majority of our residents in Breckland will be paying £1.86 or less per week for all the core services that this council provides, and all, and most importantly, the discretionary services that we provide, some of which you've referred to yourself, relating to those who are most vulnerable in our society. And not only that, of course, there are significant numbers of residents who are entitled to local council tax relief to one extent or another. And that one extent to another actually goes up to 91.5% to 100%. So we are very, very aware that our residents are facing challenging times. Frankly, we're all residents in this room, Terry. We all feel exactly the same pressures and tensions that everyone in the district is facing to one extent or another. And some of us in this room are pensioners too. And to be fair, we need to look at the overall demographic of our residents to understand how best we can support them. And I believe this budget does exactly that. Hence the changes to the housing and homelessness element to which you've referred. And that remains one of the largest and highest risks that this council is going to be facing over the coming 12, 14, 24 months, however long we face the potential recession that everyone talks up. So yes, I'm very pleased that we've been able to keep our council tax at the level it is, even though there is a slight increase. But for the vast majority of people for whom it will be a challenge, that increase is relatively small per week. And I appreciate as well, as all of us do, that when we get the council tax bill landing on the mat, it's quite challenging for people to see the bottom line figure. What I would urge them to do, and us to do in this room, is recognise the very small amount of council tax that this council charges for all our residents. You refer to appendix. It is very challenging. Sometimes we call it appendix 9 and sometimes it's H. And Alison and I have had this little conversation. It's designed to confuse everyone, I'm sure. But yes, the capital strategy assumes the figures that you've seen. If that amount doesn't come in, don't forget we have also got rental income, which will continue. So I think you're right to make that point, but please accept that this council is managing its budget in a very professional and competent manner. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Tony. Just your comment around the hardship fund. Obviously, last year we increased the hardship funding within Breckland. We've got just over 50,000 left within this financial year. So as we move forward, we'll top that up, as long as the budget's approved, by a further £20,000. So that money is still there. That flexibility sits with the Revs and Bens officers. and there is no maximum ceiling for that. So it's done on a case-by-case basis. And you're quite right, it is normally for those who get LCTRS, but it sits down with the discretion of our Rebs and Bens officers. And of course, with the money advice officers we've got as well, coming forward in the council, they'll have that inroad to support those residents who are in need. And around the flexibility, and I think we've discussed this previously, through the budget setting process, there will always be that flexibility. If in a moment in time we see there are further concerns, we need to make decisions with unallocated funding, there isn't much there, but we can move money around within existing budgets. Obviously that goes through the correct process. But of course, if Ali and Phil from a Revs and Ben's piece flag there is a concern, we'll make sure we do that. I know that Alison and Steve do the same within their brief around the community support. So it comes back to that whole package piece. But the figure, you quite rightly said 20,000, but that will be on top of the existing fund. So we're not drawing as a fresh slate. That will be attributed into a further single pot. So that money is still there to the greater extent of that 20,000. Yeah, happy with a follow up.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to come back on that because I'm grateful for that extra information. I can vaguely remember what the starting figure was for the council tax support fund. So if there's that much left, it's reassuring that there's money left, but slightly frustrating that there is so much money left. And I would hope that we review the process by which it's allocated or applied for, because I think Councillor Webb's brief around the household support fund being used up is probably a truer reflection of the level of need out there than the underspend that we've got with the current council tax support. I hope it's working as well as it should be, because the need is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you'll note that government has offered further funding back in December of last year. So there are numerous schemes which we're offering. And I think as we said earlier around the council tax hardship fund, where individuals like yourself helped us guide us around the flexibility in that process, it's to make sure we're massaging that to support as many residents as we can. And of course, the joy of working in partnership with other districts within the locality of the East of England through ARP, we're able to understand and learn continuously through that best practice. And if we're not got something on our radar, another authority might. So we continuously have that position. Of course, through the governance structure, through ARP, we've allowed that flexibility for the officers within ARP and the Revs and Bens team to make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. Okay, so I've got questions from Councillor Morton and Councillor Borwick, please.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, thanks to Councillor Cowan and the team for preparing this report against what is a very difficult economic background. So we all understand the assumptions will change, or it's a variable feast in a way. I would just like to ask, on page 97, the Evolve programme, I wonder if you could give some more detail on, it talks about an alternative housing model and solar energy opportunities. Could you expand a bit more on what those are?
Yes and no, actually. So this council for some time has been contemplating how we manage our housing need and have been investigating alternative methods. We established Brecon Bridge as a company in the first place, which was able to assist and deliver housing for us. We have been looking at alternative housing models that are both innovatory, but also build on existing models elsewhere in the country. I think, if I may, I'll leave it at that on that point, but I'm sure that Councillor Hewitt will wish to come in behind that. And as far as the solar renewable energy opportunities are concerned, we are, as you might imagine, as a prudent authority, looking at ways in which we can utilise our resources to best effect for our residents, and at the same time plugging in, pardon the pun, to the current sustainability agenda, which is growing around the country. So we are looking at ways in which we may take advantage of any funding that's available or any revenue streams that might come our way through renewables and solar energy projects. And again, I defer to colleagues to talk in more detail if they feel that's appropriate at this moment in time. Thank you.
If I could just follow up on that, Chair, with your permission. examples that actually we've generated, not just Elmhouse and Thetford, but I'm delighted to announce our direct intervention, particularly on the temporary housing side, means that last week, our first 3 properties at Old Quarry Court in Dereham were occupied for the first time through much needed temporary accommodation. And we're continuing with that direct intervention as and when we can.
Thanks. Any further questions, Councillor Morton? No, Councillor Borrett, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Jeremy quite rightly talks about the burden of council tax and the financial situation which we all, because we're all residents, all find ourselves in. But I would say to Councillor Jeremy and to all the residents of Breckland, you are luckier than the residents elsewhere in Norfolk, because your council tax will be lower in Breckland than it is anywhere else in Norfolk. And that is because of the sound financial decisions that the members of Breckland Council have made consistently over many years. We had a member of the public earlier on asking lots of detailed questions about our commercial property assets, and Breckland is unique amongst the district councils in having such a large commercial income, which is used to spend and support on our residents, which isn't raised by tax. It is raised through the profits of the commercial portfolio. And that was the very reason the council embarked on it in the first place. I think that it does, council tax is a delicate balance, because the money is spent here in Breckland, and the largest amounts are spent supporting the services that the vulnerable of Breckland use. So whether it's a support fund, and we've just had examples from the cabinet members. So I do think that this budget does balance the needs of the vulnerable in Breckland well, because it means that there is money available to support people, but also the smallest amount of tax possible is raised from the residents to support those services. And less money is raised in tax in Breckland compared to all of the other district councils in the county, yet the spend by Breckland on its residents is equal to or above those other councils. So I do think that if you look at the peers for Breckland Council, the job that Cabinet and the members have done over many years, and I think this budget that the Cabinet member has put together for next year is another example of why Breckland is different to other councils in Norfolk, and I would like to endorse the proposals that have been brought to this Cabinet meeting today, even though I'm not on Cabinet, but I would just like to say, as a member of the council, I support what the Cabinet are doing here.
Thanks, Bill. Yep, thank you.
I note, excuse me, I note election costs for the coming year have been set at £230,000. I was out speaking with residents last week and was chatting with a lady who usually votes but is without appropriate photo ID. I think this happens with a lot of more elderly people. They don't need a passport or a driving licence, etc. Now, I was able to help her out with a postal vote, but this isn't going to happen with everyone, as the government rules re-ID at polling stations have changed. Now, I've seen a press release today from Breckland Council, as well as a tweet, nicely timed at 10 AM this morning, reminding residents that they do need photo ID. As you have a blue tick account, I'm assuming you're paying Mr. Musk £8 a month. More seriously, given the change to voting requirements, have you budgeted for advertising fully and or training of polling station staff ahead of this change of rules? Thank you.
So I can give that answer, yes. Simply, yep, the answer is yes. So monitor officer set to my left-hand side. It's not my position as elected member to manage, have oversight directly of elections. That sits in the monitoring office independently with the support of officers of the council. But I'm reassured through the process, which is part of the requirement, that everything is in place, both advertisement through our fantastic council magazine, our online media communication, the support of the Electoral Commission with a national advertisement campaign, and the work which is undertaken every single year for all polling staff and counting staff is well underway. Sorry, any other questions at all in relation to item 9? Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Leader. I haven't really got a question. I'd just like to refer to what Bill said about, I'm a resident as well, and for what we pay in tax to Breckland, we get, I think, 3 or 4 times more back in services and fundings and grant applications and things like that. And the thing is as well, when residents talk to me, they always never criticise the Breckland part of the tax bill. It's county and the police in particular. They never see to, you know, that's a big issue going back a few years now with police, and that's obviously should go into be improved. Yeah, so that's my point really. And because we've got to remember as well, Breckland Council as an organisation, we get affected by the cost of living too. So therefore, you know, that's another expense we have to consider here as an organisation. So the cost of living affects organisations as well as individuals.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, and of course those changes from last year are in there, and of course are being felt across the whole of the authority and in turn the country. But thanks for your comments. If there are no other questions or comments in relation to the budget, can I thank not yet. Thank officers and members and relevant committees to date who have worked behind the scenes early on in this year to help us get to the position today with the budget. Budget setting isn't an easy process, but I'm pleased that Breckland Council is once again delivering a balanced budget, protecting all frontline services, and on the initial proposals, still having the lowest district council tax within the Eastern region. It isn't an easy position for anybody to be in, but I think as members across the chamber have commented today, ensuring that we're able to continue to deliver and support those who are in hardship is a testament to how we're able to deliver a balanced budget whilst ensuring that we are delivering good, strong, reliable revenue income streams such as our commercial property portfolio, which allows us to have that flexibility support those most in need, where other councils sadly across the country are having to stop or reduce not just statutory services, but also those discretionary services as well. I think that Breckland is in a good position, but of course we always have to be prudent, have to do and work immensely hard and ensure that every pound we spend has the biggest effect and impact for residents and businesses across the whole of the district. So on behalf of the community and residents and businesses, thank you to the officers for pulling this together for us today, and to the portfolio holder. Now you can propose it, Phil.
Thank you, Leader, and well said. Well said indeed. So this recommendation that we have before us states that the draft capital and revenue budget estimates, the draft medium-term financial plan, and the draft capital strategy are reviewed in preparation for the final budget setting in February 2023. Move that recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 10, then date of the next meeting. Date of the next meeting will be Monday, the 6th of February 2023. This will be held in Watton Town Council offices on Middle Street, where there'll be an opportunity once again for members of the public to ask questions at 9:30, with a formal meeting starting at 10 a.m. That does now conclude the formal agenda of Breckland Council's Cabinet meeting on Monday, the 9th of January.